Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian, Mr. Smith. Of course, you don't have to call me Mr. Smith, you can just call me Brian. If you're new, I'm glad you found me. If you are a reoccurring person who likes to watch my videos and a glutton for punishment, thank you, I appreciate it. I take nothing for granted, especially you guys. And if you are new, quick synopsis of our channel. It's me, which I am the director, producer, cameraman, host, star of the show, along with my wife Chris on occasion when she isn't busy working hard on other projects and or at work, and my daughter Abby and my other daughter Sarah. I also have two other kids who are never around anymore because they're all grown up doing, adulting things on their own. And I'm on 3 days a week. I try to be on 3 days a week, but life does kind of get in the way. I'm a restaurant manager, so things change on the fly a lot. But on Tuesdays, I like to talk about whatever we can talk about. Could be politics, could be latest news, could be social, needs, wants, desires, injustices. Just pretty much anything I want to talk about, or if you let me know something that you want to talk about. I'll talk about anything. I like to talk. Wednesdays, we cook dinner, and it's Wednesday. We're going to cook dinner. Thursdays, we bake, we can, and sometimes on Wednesdays, depending on how the day is going, we may just can something. It depends, but primarily dinner, and then on Thursdays, we primarily bake. We do a lot of canning on this channel. We do a lot of baking, a lot of cooking, a lot of talking, good times. But anyhow, that being said, so this week is kind of a bittersweet week for me. It marked the 1 year anniversary of the loss of a friend. We worked together. We were friends, along with co-workers. She died of cancer last year, this week, and she had cancer, and she was going through chemo at the hospital, and she caught the COVID virus, and it unfortunately took her life. So, that being said, one of our favorite things to do was to swap recipes back and forth. She was a great baker and a good cook. She taught me as much as I taught her on how to cook things. And so instead of doing things, doing dishes that, I knew that she liked to do, because like tomorrow you're going to see an orange flavored bundt cake that is out of this world. And that was inspired by a orange lemon pound cake she made. Tonight I'm doing a chicken parmesan, which I've been talking about for weeks, and I thought, what a better week to do this. Inspired by some Italian lamb chops that she made shortly before she passed that she was so proud of, which I don't have the recipe for, or we would have done something like that. But I've been dying to have this chicken parmesan again anyhow, and I thought, what not a better way to celebrate her life than by having something I know she would like. She was such a foodie. So that being said, tonight we're going to make chicken parmesan, as I just stated, and we're going to make our own sauce, and we're going to make and we'll bread our chicken, and we'll walk through all the steps. So this video might be a little long and a little entailed, but I think the end result will be well worth it. All right, so let's get started. Let's go over the ingredients list for the sauce, because that's going to be the first thing we want to make and get it going. Now, this is a quick sauce. You're saying, Brian, spaghetti sauce takes all day. Well, this is a marinara, not a meat sauce. And this marinara, you're right, normally tomato sauces, when you make them, take all day. This does not. It takes about 20 minutes after you get it on the stove, or get it on the stovetop and get it going. So, that being said, and I know I say so a lot, and I apologize in advance, let's go through the list of ingredients. First ingredient, 6 cloves of garlic. Right there, and we chopped them up. All right, I didn't use my mincer. I actually chopped those, was kind of inspired. Now, if you have large cloves of garlic, these are like medium to small cloves. Depending on how much garlic you like, depends on the size of cloves you want to use. These were medium to large cloves. But if you don't like a whole lot of garlic, go 6 medium to small cloves. But it doesn't overpower, all the same. Next thing we're going to need is 2 tablespoons of virgin olive oil. Virgin olive oil. This has a grocery list, just to let you know. We're going to need, in my sauce, crushed tomatoes, any brand tomato you like, and that's a 28-ounce can, the big can, and a big can of tomato sauce. Tomato sauce. So, and it's the big cans. Now, you can use 2 cans of tomato sauce, you can use 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, you can use diced tomatoes, you can use whole tomatoes, whole peeled tomatoes. Whatever you like, whatever you and your family like, is what you should use. But I would use use the 2 big cans. Next thing you need is 2 teaspoons of sugar, just plain old put in your coffee sugar. A half a teaspoon. This is a really easy list because after this, everything else is pretty much a half teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Kosher salt. Half a teaspoon of, well, here, I got a plate right here. Let me bring you down because it's got the rest of the ingredients on it. Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry guys, didn't mean to drop you. So we've got on this plate, we've got dried oregano, we've got dried parsley, we've got dried basil, we've got crushed red pepper, fennel, we've got seasoning salt, and these are all half teaspoon, just so you know. Every single one of these is a half a teaspoon, followed by 2 bay leaves. That is our ingredients list. So half a teaspoon of oregano, parsley, dried basil, crushed red pepper, fennel, and seasoning salt. That's half teaspoon of each. There was no way for me to remember that. Boom. But it did make it to the cardstock. And this one is a bright neon orange. Alright, so what do we have to do? This is so easy to make. It really is the easiest and best tasting marinara sauce you're ever going to have. Let me get my burner out, and we're going to cook this right here on the countertop. Things you will need: an oven, well, stove, to cook it on, and a pot, a good sized pot. We're using our 4-quart pot right here to cook this with. So, you know what? I'm not even going to move you out of the way there. I'm just going to go ahead and get her set up. Now, we bought this portable kitchen burner. This is made for use in kitchens. Now, more so professional kitchens. Do not use this in a non-ventilated place. Don't be in your closet, a room without windows. Yeah, you want to have some air circulation going if you use one of these in your house. If not, you can get yourself sick. It does put off a gas. So we'll go ahead and get that on there, get that fired up. And we're going to cook this on about a medium heat. What we're going to do is, now we got our pot on there, first thing we're going to do is put our oil in there. Alright, we want to get our oil nice and hot. Which won't take long. It's just 2 tablespoons of oil. And once that gets hot, you'll know when it's hot because it'll start to shimmer and dance. It'll almost look like waves. Another way you can tell if it's done or not, and I use a toothpick. I learned this trick from a YouTube channel called Views on the Road. It's two wonderful girls who will make some of the best Mexican cuisine you ever had in your life. So as a matter of fact, I've used a few of their recipes that you can see on my channel, or you can just check them out. I highly recommend it. But what you'll do is you'll take a piece of either a toothpick, or if you've got a skewer, or a excuse me, a utensil of any kind that not coated. So it can't be coated with an oil. Like all my utensils my wooden utensils are coated with a mineral oil, food grade mineral oil, to keep them from drying out. So I just use a toothpick, but you'll be able to stick that toothpick in there, and you should see bubbles coming off of it. It's the coolest thing ever to be able to see the bubbles, and you will see the bubbles. All right, well, let me get this warmed up real quick, and once I come back, we'll go to the next step. Okay, that didn't take but a millisecond. Now we're on to the next step, which is really easy. I'm telling you, this just gets silly. All right, so our oil is heated. It's smoking just ever so lightly. I don't even see it on the camera, but I can see it here. It's dancing, and when I stuck the toothpick in it, I can see the bubbles coming off of it. So the next thing we're going to do is roast this garlic. I'm going to put the garlic in there, and we're literally just going to roast this for about 30 seconds. What you're looking for with the garlic is literally just to get that smell of garlic. Yeah, and that's pretty much because you're wanting that flavor. So you'll see it start to darken in color, but mostly you're just looking for, for it to get that smell. I mean, like right now, I've already got that smell, so we can go ahead and move on to the next step. Turn that down just a hair. The next step is literally dump every ingredient we have in there. So we'll dump our tomato sauce in there. We're going to put our tomato juice in there. Turn that down because it's a bubbling.
Smells so good.
Give it a good stir. Now you're asking yourself, Brian, why didn't you just use a can opener to open up the tomato sauce? My can opener actually just took a crap on me right after I opened up that can of diced tomatoes. So we got our tomato sauce, our crushed tomatoes in there. Wipe off my hands real quick. We're going to put our sugar in, our salt. You're asking, why do you put sugar in this? Because why sugar? It's a marinara. Well, there's so much acidity. Tomatoes are very acid based, and so and these are all not acidic but strong, strong flavors. So you want to complement that with just a little bit of sweetness that breaks up the acidity in the tomatoes. So we're literally going to dump everything else in there. Right? We got that in there. Give it a good stir. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to a boil. Okay? Not a big boil, but just so we can start to see it bubbling, which shouldn't take more than a minute. And then after that, we're going to turn this all the way down on low and bring it to a simmer. We'll keep it simmering. We don't need it to be, bubbling the entire time. Once you get it to, where it's boiling, you get it down to a simmer, you're just going to let it cook for a minimum 15, 20 minutes. Now, you could let this go as long as you would like, but it's already a fairly thick sauce, because we didn't add any water to it. We didn't use any tomato juice. In a traditional sauce, they would, in an old school sauce, they would use tomato juice. This is why you have to cook it down all day. You would use the tomato juice in it and let the tomato juice cook all the way down. Like when we can our tomato sauce in the fall, it won't be nearly this thick. So we'll have to cook it down a little longer.
It'll be close.
I mean, like Chris just said, it'll be close to this thick, but not quite this thick. And then you just let it cook down to your desired thickness. But, well, I mean, right here, is our sauce. So we just gotta let it cook down a little bit. It's doing two things. It's getting it thickened up, but at 15, 20 minutes, we're more just letting this, letting the flavors blend together. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to let this cook here for 15 minutes. I'm going to transfer it outside of all places and on the double burner out back on the porch and let this cook down and get set up so we can start our chicken. All right, I'll see you here in just one moment. Okay, so we got the sauce out on the double burners outside, doing its thing. I got Chris stirring it out. So the next thing we need to do is take care of our chicken. Things you will need for this. It calls for 4 chicken breasts, all right, but I'm only using 3. A, that's why I can fit in my pan. B, they're huge. So, and I don't need, but if you don't have like ginormous. I mean, those are monstrous chicken breasts. So, that being said, I'm only going to use 3. There's only 4 of us eat here. 3 of us will probably eat this. I don't think Abby will. But, I mean, she'll say, ooh, gross, before she even tries it. So, now we're going to get back to work on the chicken. I already flattened 2 of these. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to show you how to prep the chicken and what you need to do. Alright, so here's the next few steps. Let me get the camera turned down and we will start working on our chicken. Alright, so to flatten your chicken, I don't think I've shown this in a recipe before, in any of my other videos. But the first thing you're going to want to do is see all this excess fat right here. You're going to want to get rid of that. Yeah, we're gonna trim up our chicken, make it look nice and neat. This one's got a chunk over here. Now this fat's good if you're like doing fried chicken, or even a grilled chicken, because then it turns crispy. In this case, you don't want that. That's just too much fat. Plus it's not healthy for you. Chicken fat's just not the way to go. So we'll get as much of this excess fat off as we can. Now, I mean, you may like it, you may want to leave it on. I don't know. It's completely up to you. And I was thinking while we were making the sauce, all those ingredients are variables. That's just like everything else. It's just a base recipe. If you like more of one thing and less of another, the first thing that comes to mind is the crushed red peppers that are in it. You may not like that much heat. You can leave that out. That's just what we put in ours, and that's a good... the base recipe we got that off of a long time ago didn't have half that stuff in it. We added it, because it's stuff we like. All right, so the next thing you're going to do, I use a Ziploc freezer baggie, one of the big baggies. Place my chicken in there. Okay, and then you're going to want to. In our case, we whack it with a mallet. There are several different kitchen hammers you can use. Right here's this one. The spikes are for pork and beef, because they're a little tougher meat. You'll have a flat spot. Now they also make pounders that just have a handle and a flat pounder that you can pound down on. Those are really cool to use. But this is what we have, so this is what we use. And all you're going to do is you're going to hit this and move your hand. You're going to bounce it. You don't. I mean, you can sit here and hammer it like this, but what you're doing essentially is just kind of tearing your chicken up. It'll work, it'll get the job done, but that's not what you're looking to do. You're not looking to completely tenderize it, you're looking to just make it so it's even. If you look at a chicken breast, it is big on one end, thick on one end, thin on the other. So you want to kind of even that out, so that way it cooks even. I mean, you don't have to do this. If you don't have, a mallet or a way to do this, you can also use a rolling pin, whatever. Just know that that thinner area is going to be done long before the thicker area is. So it's always good to, unless you're doing like a baked chicken, that you want to leave it nice and plump and juicy on this end. You're going to want to flatten out your chicken. Most recipes that you use for chicken are, you'll flatten them, whether it says it or not. And it cuts down on the cooking time. Because there's less area and less density in it, to cook with. Alright, so we got that flattened out. Didn't take no time at all. And then we're simply going to take it out, put it in the pan. Now it's as flat as the other two. Probably maybe a little flatter. That particular breast wasn't quite as big as the other two, and I did that by design. I actually had pulled out more than just 3 chicken breasts, but I went with a smaller one. I knew it would fit in my pan that way. I'm putting this in a 9x13 pan to get rid of this cutting board here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle this with 3 ingredients, and they're all to taste. So I don't have amounts for you on this, because you're going to put as much as you want on there. When it comes to, because we're essentially going to fry this chicken. We're making fried chicken. We're just doing it as a step for the total dish. So chicken parmesan is nothing more than fried chicken, and this is on its base level, is nothing more than fried chicken with tomato sauce and cheese on it. That's really what it is. All right, so we got our salt on there. Next thing we're going to put on there is some pepper. And like I said, all three of these ingredients are to taste. So you'll put your pepper on there. Put your pepper on there like such. And you want to be kind of high off the chicken. That way, it when it falls, it'll cover more of the chicken. Things when seasonings dry, they have a tendency to spread out. So you get better coverage and you don't use as much. All right, so we got our 3 ingredients on this side. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is take your chicken and flip it over. And then I'm going to wash my hands off real quick because I don't want to stick chicken-based fingers back in those containers. Remember, chicken sold in the U.S. We don't use antibiotics when we raise our chickens, so there's always a chance of salmonella, and you don't want that. So we'll repeat that on this side. Salt. Like I said, this is all to taste. If you like just a ton of salt, and this is kosher salt, by the way. It's not table salt. Kosher salt isn't quite as processed. It's not quite as strong, and it works more towards enhancing flavors, just like in baking. We're enhancing the flavor, not overpowering it. So, and when it comes to frying chicken or breading chicken, salt is your friend. All right, we'll do pepper. And then we'll do our garlic powder. And this is garlic powder, not garlic salt. Now, I will say there's an added challenge to this because garlic powder is light and I got a fan blowing in the kitchen. So I had to kind of judge it there. All right, so we got those 3 ingredients on there. Now, the next thing we're going to want to do is set this off to the side for a minute. You want to let it soak for a minute. Soak. You want to let it sit for a minute. That way, those ingredients, the salt has time to get in there, work that meat a little bit. The pepper is, adhering to it. Another thing you want to make sure of is when you use your chicken, make sure it's dry. So like if you pull the chicken out of your container or whatever and it's a little wet, take a paper towel and dry them off. You want them as dry as possible. That way things, I know this sounds weird, but things stick better to a dry chicken. All right, so we've got that done. We're going to set this aside for just 1 second. Next thing we're going to do is get our stuff together to make our breading. So what do we need to make our breading? We're going to need 4 eggs, and that this is a base. Depending on how many you're doing, you may need more than 4 eggs. Because we're going to coat the chicken in the eggs, and then you're going to need some breadcrumbs. Now I am using panko breadcrumbs, and these are made by I don't remember who they're made by, but they have a Parmigiano or Reggiano in it already. That way we can get her going. That it has that good Italian seasoning in it. Now, I found these to be a little pricey, but these were I don't buy them all the time. Normally, I just buy Italian flavored breadcrumbs or plain breadcrumbs. But for this particular recipe, it calls for these, and they really are good and add a lot of flavor. So if you can get them, they're a panko breadcrumb, which is a Japanese style breadcrumb that's got an Italian seasoning in it, with the cheese, with a little bit of the cheese in it also. So what are we going to add to this? Like I said earlier, salt and pepper are your friend. So, and these are all, like I said, to taste, so I can't really give you. I mean, if I had to guess, maybe a quarter teaspoon of each. But I mean, really, you'll know. I mean, there's no way to taste this to know. But this is one of those dishes you would have to make more than once. So you're writing down your recipe and you go, okay, we'll start with 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then if you don't think that was enough on the chicken that time, up it a little. You'll know. I just put a heavy pinch in. And we're going to stir that in a little bit. Make it happen. Get my fork back out. And you want your eggs beaten. You want to beat them up. You don't want just 4 egg yolks sitting in there with the whites. You want to mix them like you're making scrambled eggs. So we got that done. We've let our chicken sit. Now that went a little quicker than normal. I mean, normally if I was cooking this, I would have done this, set it aside, and then I would have had to go to the cabinet, get my breadcrumbs, gone to the fridge, got my eggs, beat them up all while that was sitting. You want those to sit for about 10 minutes. You're going to need a plate to put your chicken on. Plate for chicken. And then all you need to do is we're going to dip our chicken in the egg. And when you do this, when you pull it up, let it drain off of there. Okay? You don't want to have a bunch of that egg yolk in your breading. Well, I mean, you do, but not necessarily. So we'll get that dripped off of there, and then we're just going to put your chicken in the breadcrumbs. We're going to pack it on there. Then we'll flip it back over. You want to make sure it gets a good even coating on it. Like that. And then, I forgot something. Give me 1 second. Ooh. Now, depending on who you talk to in life, it's okay to cook these just down on a plate. I have learned from experience of making fried chicken in the past. You don't want to, I have learned to set mine on a rack. That way it has time to just sit, because you want these to sit for just a brief minute and relax. It gives it time for the panko crumbs to absorb some of that egg wash and everything to adhere to the chicken. The last thing you ever want to do, and this holds true for even making fried chicken, is take your chicken, dip it in the egg, dip it in your breadcrumbs or whatever medium you're using, and then stick it directly in the fryer. Nothing will stick to it. Well, as I said, if you don't have a rack to set them on, that's fine. You don't have to have one. I just prefer one. You can set it easily on a plate. I mean, I got a plate sitting there, and that plate is just simply there to catch any breadcrumbs that may fall. But I find that the air running around it a little, helps it a little bit is all. So we get this done. Get this done. Get our breadcrumbs on there good. And you want to pack them on there. You could probably even, like if I were doing fried chicken, I would double dip this. I would pick it back up, put it back in the egg yolk, and then put it back in the breadcrumb again. But you don't have to do that. On this, I'm not going to do it for this recipe. Because the focus on these isn't fried chicken. Man, that is just one monstrous piece of chicken. I can honestly say that's some of the biggest chicken I've ever seen. This is what you get when you buy from a butcher versus, buying from the grocery store. Did a video a while back about why we don't buy our meats from the grocery store, and so I won't dwell into that. But I'm here to tell you that when you buy from a butcher, the product is so much better. You're right. It does cost more, but the cost is well worth it. I mean, just well worth it, I think. All right, we got these breaded. They're in good shape. Yeah, so what we'll do next is when I come back, I'm going to go ahead and get cleaned up. Get this all cleaned up. So from stage 1 of the chicken, step 2 of making chicken parmesan. And we will go to step 3, which is going to be to fry the chicken. All right, let me take care of this, and I'll be back in just one moment. I got everything cleaned up. We're moving on to stage 3. So next thing we need to do is basically fry our chicken. So I got 3/4 of a cup of olive oil, and in my pan now I'm using cast iron, so I had to let it warm up a little bit, and about medium-high heat. And just like any other time you use oil, you put the oil in there, and then we're gonna wait for it to start to shimmer and smoke a little, which it's already shimmering. Like I said, I started preheating the cast iron a little bit prior too. And like I said earlier, with these gas burners, you know, like this, these butane burners, you want to have, you know, some air, some movement. You know, you don't want to be in a room without windows or, you know, ventilation. And cooking with one of these, butane does give off, can give off a nauseous gas every once in a while. Most butanes aren't pure. Okay, so we got that going, and in this case, if we want to test this to see if it's going good, we just simply take a little bit of our panko crumbs and put it in there. And if it's sizzling up, which we're close, we're getting there, but you just take your breadcrumbs in there, and if they start to sizzle, if they're frying, your chicken's going to fry. So I think we're actually in pretty good shape. They are bubbling around. Or you can use a toothpick, and I mean, not that you'll be able to see it, but if you take any kind of wooden, like if you have a wooden utensil or a skewer, it just can't have a coating on it. So like if you coat your, like I use mineral oil on my wooden utensils to keep them fresh and not drying out. But if you have just a toothpick, and I know you can't see it up there, and you stick it in the oil, you'll see bubbles coming around the wood. That's how you know your oil is hot enough. So I know we're dancing, we're starting to smoke lightly. Now I'm only going to be able to do 2 of these at a time. Well, two of them out of the 3 because they're so big. So we'll stick them in there, and we're going to let them cook for about 3 or 4 minutes per side. And then, so in 4 minutes, I'll flip these over and we'll cook the other side. So when I come back, I'll have these cooked and we'll move on to step 4. All right, be right back. Okay, so we got the, turn the news back now. We got our chicken fried. We're right here on the rack, looking good. Now, with the chicken, you're not looking to cook it all the way through. Don't sweat that. You're looking to get the coating brown, just like we did, and it mostly cooked, because this is going to go in the oven as soon as we assemble it. Now, while you're frying your chicken, kick your oven on to 350 degrees, all right, 180 degrees Celsius, if you need to know that. Now all we have left to do is assemble it and stick it in the oven. So, in my 9x13 pan, if you have a bigger pan or you have a cookie sheet, you can use a cookie sheet. I'm just using a pan for this. The first thing we want to put on, or put in the pan, is some sauce. And you just want a nice, thin, even layer. Something for the chicken to rest on. Another note, let's say you don't want to make your own sauce. You know, you don't want to work that hard. That's okay. You can buy a jar of marinara sauce. It's not that big a deal. We don't really... I mean, we use canned spaghetti sauce sometimes. You know, like weeknight, don't have time to, you know, I get home late or Chris gets done working late. You know, we'll grab a can of, a jar of canned hamburger that we've canned. You know, pop open a jar of spaghetti sauce and make a meat sauce. You know, it's not a huge ordeal, but I think this goes well with this sauce. That's just my opinion. And I hope you try it. This goes good with spaghetti. It goes good with spaghetti noodles. I mean, just pretty much anything. So the next thing we need to put in here is some Parmesan. Now, I grated an entire triangle of Parmesan, as you can see there. Because what I'm wanting to do is, and if I don't use it all, it's okay. It'll keep. But fresh Parmesan, don't skimp on the Parmesan. Don't buy the bag Parmesan. Go get you real Parmesan and shred it yourself. So we're going to put a layer of Parmesan on there because it's not chicken Parmesan without Parmesan. And the sauce on the bottom will help keep this from sticking, and give your chicken something to lay on. Then we're going to put our chicken in there. And like I said, it's okay if it's not, your chicken doesn't need to be cooked all the way through. Oh, we lost a piece of breading there. Put it back on. So I don't know if you can see. I mean, see how well that the coating stayed on there. That's what that's why the difference between panko breadcrumbs and regular breadcrumbs can be. That's also what happens when you let it sit for a minute before you fry it. And you don't have to let it sit, but just for a minute. Now we're going to put a little more sauce on there. And you probably won't use, I guarantee if you make this sauce recipe, you won't use all the sauce. But the sauce is refrigeratable, and it'll hold for about a week. Now, we also like to pair this with some spaghetti noodles. We'll put the marinara sauce on that also. So we'll get our sauce on there. Man, I tell you, this is looking good already and hasn't even hit the oven. And like I said, you want your oven to be preheating to 350 degrees. And it's going to accomplish two things by putting it in the oven. There is our sauce. And then we're simply going to put some mozzarella on these. Oh, yes. Make sure you use real mozzarella. Now, I mean, if all you can get is the shredded mozzarella, that's fine. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. But I think real mozzarella is just, and by real, I mean, the in water blocks, adds such a better flavor to it than the sliced stuff. Plus, we don't, if you've watched any of my videos, I mean, if you haven't and you're new, I don't really care much for pre-shredded. It's a food grade oil, but they coat the shredded cheese with so it doesn't stick together. And not that I have anything, I personally have some things against that. I don't like it. I think in some ways you lose some of the taste of the cheese. All I want with my cheese personally is cheese. So which is okay. If that's what you can get, that's what you can get, and that's what you should use. I will never fault you for that. But we want to put our mozzarella on there as such. And then we're going to take some more of that beautiful Parmesan. We're going to sprinkle it on top of that. As such. Oh, that looks so good. And then all we got left to do is stick this in the oven. So let me stick this in the oven real quick and set the timer, and we'll talk about how long to cook it for and what we're doing with it. And then there, timer. All right. So, what do we have left to do? I know that was a 5-step process. One of them was making the sauce. What could we do? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. 45 minutes in the oven. We're doing two things. We're going to get that mozzarella to melt. Fresh mozzarella traditionally takes a minute longer to melt, to get it melty and get that a little bit of the golden crispness to it. And we're also finishing off the chicken. That's why I said, I mean, you're cooking your chicken when you're frying it, but what you're really looking for is that golden crispy crust on the outside, and then you finish cooking it in the oven. So we're going to go 45 minutes, 350 degrees. When it's done, pull it out, and you always want to let it sit for a minute. So That being said, we're going to let that cook. We've completed all 5 steps. This meal shouldn't, including cook time, maybe an hour and 15 minutes total. It took a little longer for us on this because I slowed down so that way we could see it and all that. But I mean, there's a lot of steps you could do. Like, realistically, we could have pounded out the chicken, salt and peppered it and garlicked it, stuck it in the fridge, then made our sauce. And then that way when we came back, all we had to do was fry the chicken up, put it in the pan, and run with it. But I don't do it that way. So, but that's an option. You can buy pre-shredded Parmesan. You can buy pre-shredded mozzarella. That saves you the time of shredding it all up. You can buy spaghetti sauce or a marinara sauce from the grocery store already pre-done. And then that way you don't even have that 15-20 minutes that you need to make your sauce. And you're good there. So you could, but the longest of that hour and 15 minutes is probably the 45 minutes it's in the oven. So would this be a good weeknight meal? You come home from work, you're tired? No, probably not. But this would be a wonderful Sunday dinner to go with some, like I said, some spaghetti noodles and some maybe a salad. A salad would be wonderful with this. So anyhow, that being said, when I come back, we'll have it out of the oven. We'll let it rest for about 10 minutes, and we'll give it a shot. All right? I'll see you here shortly. Okay, so we're on the final steps. All we got to do is eat. So let's take a quick look at her, see how we turned out. Get us down low enough we can see the pan. Now, after I pulled this out of the oven, I let it sit. You should always let your protein that you cook sit for at least 10 minutes, and I let it sit for 10 minutes. It's cool enough to touch, but that's how we turned out right there. Absolutely beautiful. So let's go ahead and grab us a chunk. Now, in reality, you could probably, with the size of these chicken breasts, cut them in half to serve, and it would easily serve 6. Now, we also did up some spaghetti noodles. We're going to plate it on the side, put some of that marinara sauce on it, which will be amazing. And let me grab a spoon real quick. I'm going to spoon some of this marinara sauce on there so I can taste it. Although I tasted the marinara sauce earlier when we were making it, and it is amazing, and I knew it would be. We've made this marinara sauce probably a dozen times. So let's go ahead and get a piece cut right there so you can see what it looks like on the inside. And as you can see, even this monstrous chicken breast is completed. And that's our chicken Parmesan right there. All that's left to do is give it a taste. We'll do that right quick here. Get a little bit of everything on there. Sauce, cheese, Parmesan, mozzarella. Wow. That breading stayed nice and crisp. That sauce is, I'm telling you, it's an award winner. I do brag a lot, but mostly it's just because I'm annoying. But that marinara sauce, really, you have to try it. And it takes all of 15 minutes to make before it's ready to use. Absolutely outstanding. The chicken, where you fry it crisps up so quick, seals in those juices. So you've got that juiciness of the chicken. It's not dry. You got those panko breadcrumbs with the seasonings in it. And even if you don't have, use what seasonings you wish to use if you want to put seasonings in your breadcrumbs. It doesn't just have to be salt and pepper. You can put oregano in there. If you have an Italian seasoning premix, you can use that. But really, and the Parmesan, that fresh Parmesan baked into it, along with the mozzarella, it's amazing. I guarantee you'll like this dish. Now, like I said, is it a quick weeknight dish? Maybe not. This is more of a, it's the weekend, it's Sunday. We're going to sit down with the family and have a dinner. You can pair this with a nice salad, nice Italian style salad with some tomatoes and maybe some peppers and a nice shredded cheese, an Italian dressing or dressing of your choice, and a small amount of spaghetti on the side. I mean, we did our spaghetti up. I got it sitting right over there in that pot is our spaghetti noodles and the rest of that marinara sauce. And it'll give you and your family something to talk about. I guarantee your family, your friends, they'll love this dish. And it's easy to double the recipe if you're feeding more. Hands down. All you need is some bigger pots and a bigger pan. Like I said, if you're doing more than 3 or 4 pieces of chicken, put it on a baking sheet. It'll work. Hands down. Anyhow, try this dish. Tell me what you think. Leave me a comment down in the messages. Like I said, I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. It's something that this is just a base recipe that we use. You can easily alter this to make it your own and what you like. So, that being said, I'm going to go eat dinner with my family. They've let me know they're starving to death waiting on this. And I will see you next week. Got some things I want to talk about Tuesday. There's a lot going on in the world. And then next Wednesday, I'll let you know Tuesday for sure. We're making, like I said, I got maybe a dozen recipes I want to try for a Wednesday dinner. And then about a dozen recipes I want to try for baking. And we may can some stuff. I got a bunch of stuff. I'm backlogged on things that need canned. Anyhow, I love you. I love you very much. Tell somebody else you love them and love them very much. It'll make their day a whole lot better, I promise. And I'll see you next week. All right? Actually, no, I take that back. I will see you tomorrow. I'm getting ahead of myself. I completely forgot about tomorrow. We're doing an orange bun cake, which is going to be absolutely amazing. I know because we've already made the video. And it's awesome. So stay tuned for that. Matter of fact, that's tonight's dessert. So anyhow, I'll see you tomorrow. But I still love you and love you very much. And I still want you to tell somebody the same. All right? I'll see you tomorrow. Talk to you later.